This conference will now be recorded.
All right, we'll go ahead and, sorry about that. We'll go ahead and get started. Let me unmute everybody. All right, so again, thanks for joining today. This is Becky, ologist from Ronan Engineering, and our goal today is to talk about installations for our measurement products. So at the end, I'll open up for questions. So if you guys just want to make a note, if you have any questions as we go along. Our roadmap for today, my goal obviously to provide you installation examples so you can find applications to sell. How am I going to do that? We're going to discuss industries and specific areas for use. We'll illustrate installation applications, and then I'll answer any questions you might have. So just for review from last week, we talked about the types of measurement that Ronan can offer, and we have three different types: density, level, and weight. The industries that we are commonly in, here's a few, just a few: mining and aggregate, power, refining, oil and gas, chemicals, metals, pulp and paper, dredging, chemical, food and beverage, renewable fuels. But I did want to say we're not just limited to that. Anybody who wants a weight measurement, a density measurement, or a level measurement, and like we talked about last week, no other solution works, this is a good installation to have a discussion about. So since mining is a pretty big area for us, wanted to go over just a few installations and examples here of actual measurements. So on the right are just a few end users that we have. In density, most very common customers want to measure percent solids or specific gravity of the slurry. So here are just a couple ideas of areas: the thickener, the pump, autoclave, the cyclone, the concentrator, flotation, and tailings. And then in mines, we also see level measurements on the autoclave and the cyclone. So here are some installation pictures to get you to start to think. This is the source, this is the detector, obviously. And a lot of them are up in the air. Most are not at ground level, obviously. So some customers are concerned about radiation. So in addition to putting up the sign, they also have built cages. So that's what I'm illustrating here. Have some more density pictures here in a minute. If we look at power, we can do two common types of measurements: density and level, whether it's point or continuous. So for density, some common installations are on the scrubber, where the flue gas desulfurization happens, and then on the gasifier rise or standpipe. We do a lot of fly ash, lime slurry measurements for density. For level, whether point or continuous, here are just a couple installations: fly ash hopper, the silo, the feed vessels, unloading bins, the coolers. So here is a picture of the actual installation for a fly ash hopper. What we commonly see is customer just wants to know at a specific level when the fly ash is there. So we put just a point level detector, and many times there's a source that was able to do dual rotation. We don't make very many of those anymore, but I wanted to illustrate this because a couple of customers that I've been working with, I've seen that both our product and Texas Nuclear. In the refining industry and area, just a couple things kind of jog memories or get you thinking. In the density area, customers want to know API on the pipeline. They want to know when they're fractionating, they want to know um, the sand content. They measure on the feedstock and the flowback lines. For level, there are quite a few installations. These three are very common. High and low pressure separators, the coke drums, and storage tanks. For chemical, here are some ideas of areas for measurement. For density, measuring acid, any kind of concentration, detergents, and mixture interfaces. For level, chemical companies also typically want to measure interface. Common measurement is on the distillation towers, any of the reactors, because you can't put anything inside, and then polymerization level. So now I'm going to get into a lot more pictures of installations just to kind of get you thinking. So if you remember density, we're mounting a source and a detector on a pipe, and they're externally clamped. Our goal is to get 1% repeatability, and we offer a low-level source for the state sales that doesn't require a license. So here are some pictures with installations. Here we've got two density lines running, and you can see we're going to put the source right here and then right over here, and we're directing them in opposite directions so that we don't have interference from each one of them. And these are the detectors. We're putting a shield behind it to capture as much radiation as we can get. Here are some more installations. This one has got two here. I think this one is in a mine, I believe. See, here are a couple pictures with that low-level source. As you can see here, we're not clamping onto the insulation because it's not as rigid as a pipe. And over here is an oil pipeline coming in. And this is where they're wanting to measure API. They're also combining it with a flow meter that's down here to then give mass flow measurement. So here, a couple more pictures on the pipeline. And this one is a good example. Here's a nice little actuator on a valve. And you can see we're not very far away. We do a lot on dredges with density. And dredging companies are wanting to know how much sand they're pulling out, and they try to get the maximum output possible. So here are a couple different onboard. Another popular installation is measuring sand slurry. So right now down in West Texas, it's my understanding there's a big area that needs to measure sand. There's about 23 different plants that they're building right now, and here are just a couple examples of some installations. So this one is up in the air, and this one you can see is on the ground. So my point here is it doesn't matter where it's installed. So we talked a bit last week about mass flow. Here's just an illustration of a mass flow system. So the second principle we were looking at is weight. Just to refresh your memory, that one's also obviously non-contact. And most of the time we're using the low-level source so we can keep our uprights as close to the conveyors as possible. And we're going for a 1% repeatability. So here are some pictures, installations, sand conveying. As you can see, they have not modified their conveyor in any way. They've got our detector uprights right here in between the two rollers, and then the detectors going underneath in between the two belts. So here we have a very popular customer, Lamb Weston, that measures potatoes, all different forms, all the way from the whole potato down to the flakes here that make the hash browns and the tater tots. Doesn't matter what kind of material. So this one is wood dust. Here's a coal mine. So you can see this, a pound is a pound. So this pound obviously would be a lot smaller than this pound in volume. We can measure garbage. Here we've turned the device upside down, so this is actually our detector. And we can put these on screw conveyors we talked about. So here's cement. Obviously they've opened it up so we can see what's going on in there. Dog and cat food. On a screw conveyor, there's a couple right here, 1, 2. Very popular for us right now, ethanol plants. And we're going around drag chains for the most part. And you can see, obviously they're not on the ground, they're up on the catwalk. So the third measurement is level, continuous level. Here's just an idea, just to refresh our memory what we're doing, non-contact. Our goal is 1% repeatability, and we can measure up to 23 feet with one detector. Here are a few installations at chemical companies, AkzoNobel and Westlake Chemical. As you can see here, they've got shown us a little bit of a cutaway here to see the installation. So we've got to shoot through all that. Here's some more chemical plant pictures. Here is our detector right here, going at an angle. And then they have a point level right here at the bridge, at the point where it's becoming straight again, so they know when it's filled there. Here are some source pictures. Oops. And these are just illustrating a couple kind of supports because these weigh about 165 pounds, these devices. For level measurement, most of the time we need a licensed device. And then we have the point level system. So here are some illustrations for different ideas. This one they wanted high level and high level. So we got them close together. Here's the single point. This is where the source would be on the opposite side of that. And just so you can tell, we're running the long way. Rock crushers, another good installation. And for point level, our two devices, we're mounting them vertically. Half the probe would have to be covered. Horizontally, half the probe would be covered, but you can see the difference. This thing is about 7 inches long. So to cover half is 3.5, where to cover half of a 4-inch pipe would be 2.5. All right, so now I'm going to open up for questions. Feel free to ask anything you want to ask about installation ideas. Anyone have any questions? So a good thing just to think about with your most popular accounts going in there, where are they having trouble? Are they having trouble with a level measurement? Maybe with a radar gauge or a differential pressure device? Is your big account running a lot of slurry around so that they want density? So I am available anytime that you guys might want to have a discussion. And if there's no more questions, we'll go ahead and end. Thanks everybody for your time.